What's happening, football fans, especially my Raven fans? Welcome to the DJ B Long and week 1 of Raven football. Should I say week 3? We're in our third week right about now. Yes, indeed. I'm going to do a quick recap for you. This is presented to you right here on my Ravens World podcast. You can find it on my YouTube channel, DJBLongStudio.com. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification, that is. Hit that notification bell. That way you can be sure to catch me as I recap the games on a weekly basis. Needless to say, I will be dropping some of the hottest breaking news and giving you an insight on the games like no other can. I will try to be unbiased. That's going to be difficult, but I will try to be unbiased. Who am I? Well, let's just say I'm the news gizak on the blizzak. The one and only, of course, and the only one, Raven Ruda. And here's what I got for you today. So let's dive in. Yes, indeed. That's what I got for you. Appreciate everybody joining me today. Appreciate you joining me. Now, listen, and I know if some of you are a little bit disappointed about what went down yesterday, or excuse me, on Sunday, about the Ravens. I'm a little bit disappointed as well, but you know how it is with football. You got to play the game. Now, the Ravens, they kind of started out pretty good, actually. They were actually cooking early. You know, they took an early 7-0 lead after marching 80 yards. They went 80 yards on the opening drive. And I'm sitting back saying, oh, yeah, this finna be a good one here. We finna blow these boys out. That's what I was thinking. I'm sure probably a few of you out there were thinking the same old thing. But, you know, they went on an 80-yard drive. It was capped by Lamar Jackson 8-yard touchdown run. So he actually put that up out there like that. And again, now the game kind of changed a little bit as far as the momentum was concerned. You know, on Baltimore's second possession actually went Kenyon Drake, and I like Kenyon. I think he's going to do well for them. But he actually fumbled the ball after gaining 22 yards on a pass from Jackson. Now, obviously, that didn't bode well. Okay, we had Kenyon Drake doing that for you, but again, it's one of those things where you had a new player coming in. They pretty much basically signed him off the street to try to compensate for some of the injuries they've been having, especially in that running back position. But anyway, Kenyon Drake fumbled the ball after gaining about 22 yards on a pass from Jackson. And the ball was recovered by the Colts at Indianapolis 46-yard line. Now, instead of moving back into the Colts territory and potentially taking a 2-score lead, the Ravens gave up Indianapolis the ball back, and the game was a dogfight from that point forward. Now, we will say my boy Action Jackson Lamar, he had a couple of things where we was hoping he wouldn't exactly fall into, but apparently he did, and that's fine. He did play a decent game. He didn't play an outstanding game. Jackson had he had troubles with fumbles. But also remember now, he scored 2 touchdowns on the ground and finished as the Ravens' highest graded offensive player. Now, can you imagine that? He was the Ravens' highest offensive player? Wow, that's saying a lot. That really is, considering he had the 2 fumbles going forward. So he didn't get a whole lot of help on that offense. He really didn't. Now, keep in mind, too, now the Ravens, they ruled out 7 starters. 7 starters due to injury prior to the Colts game. Can you imagine losing 7 starters from your team and expect to get on that field and compete and win. Well, those 7 starters that was actually missing were 4 from the offense and 3 from the D. You had Odell, he was out. Far as a defense was concerned, you had the outside linebacker Odafe Owe. The guards up front. This is where they really kind of missed those big guys up front. Ronnie Staley, uh, Tyler Leiterbaum, the center. Ronnie Staley, left tackle. He was out as well, and of course, running back Justice Hill. He was out. He as with a foot injury. Now, as far as defense is concerned, again, you had Marlon Humphrey, who was still out, and of course Marcus Williams, who was out. So all in all, the Ravens had 7 guys, 7 starters. Man, you take 7 starters off any team, they're gonna have a hard time winning. So I kind of give them a pass on that because not many teams can drop 7 starters and still be competitive. And they were competitive. They were competitive. They just had some bonehead plays and some bonehead calls or lack of calls from the sideline. Now, running back Gus Edwards, y'all remember Gus Edwards? Gus Edwards, he went out in that game, concussion protocol. Outside linebacker David Ojabo, he went out in that game. And of course, wide receiver Rashad Bateman, he had a hamstring tighten up on him. So he also went out in that game. And of course, the safety, as far as the defense was concerned, Geno Stone. Again, he also didn't finish that Sunday's game. So all in all, you count the 7 starters that were out, and now you look at those guys that went down in the game. Man, how can you really expect them to overcome that? You know, you're talking total 10 players, 10 players easily that you got to pull out of your lineup. That's not an easy task to overcome, obviously. But the Ravens were up against it, and they were trying, and they was expecting Lamar to be able to be Super Lamar and do that for him. But unfortunately he couldn't quite pull it out the way we was hoping he could. Now, they talked to Harbaugh after that, and Harbaugh did not give any defensive update, or excuse me, a definite update on when these players could return. In his opinion, we don't feel like it was too much to bear. That's what he's saying. Absolutely not. But obviously, he ain't on the damn field. I'm saying, and Lamar with those 2 big guys missing from up front, Harbaugh ain't behind that quarterback in that slot trying to ward off that Colts defensive line and give them a lot of credit. Give them a lot of credit. Don't they played very well. They really did. With that being said, Harbaugh, I think he felt like we have the guys that can get the job done, but it's definitely relevant. It's definitely something that we're contending with, as he said. We have to. Obviously, they have to because they do not have a choice. They got to go with what they got. It's where we're at right now, according to Harbaugh. Now, the Ravens also on the defensive side of the ball, and that defense balled out. I think the defense played well, actually. I think the defense played well. A few things here on the offensive side, few calls, a little bit better coaching. I think they could have pulled that game out, even though they didn't play that very well at times. Now the Ravens are especially thin, as I mentioned, that outside linebacker and running back. Running back is it's a real thing for them, buddy, because they run backs are going down, uh, like the pilots in the World War II were going down when the U.S. flew over there, and the U.S. fighter pilots was shooting them down like flies. But anyway, with Justin Hill out and Odafe Owe out, they actually had to go on defense with a rookie. They had to put a rookie in there, that 4th-round outside linebacker, Tavius Robinson. And he had to play at least 55 defensive snaps. Now, that's a rookie. That's a rookie on the field. Okay. 55 snaps on the defensive side. And as I mentioned, the defense pretty well. With a little bit of break here from the offense, I think they could have pulled this game out. Now, also, you had Jeremiah Moon, who played 46 snaps in his very first NFL career game. So you see what the Ravens was trotting out, their backup players. They was trotting out guys that ain't had no experience at all in an actual game type situation. But that defense was holding it down. They really were. And as far as running backs concerned, They was left trying to close out the game with with a 1-2 punch, Melvin Gordon and Kenyon Drake. Now these guys weren't even projected to play. I mean, Melvin Gordon was on the practice squad at one point. Kenyon Drake was still hanging out at the strip clubs. But anyway, both were activated from the practice squad, and Drake was signed last week. You know, he was signed last week, and so again, they're up against the wall in that regard. So I give them some credit. They coming in the fight with half the tools that they need to actually beat these good teams. Now, on a positive note, guys, players are actually coming back from the injuries. Now, the downside is all of them aren't coming back right now, uh, and they haven't already been there. Now, when I say right now, we got Cleveland coming up next week, and boy, that's gonna be a tough one. And in my opinion, it's gonna be the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens battling for that conference uh, conference championship, at least for that division. Cleveland Browns, and for those of you that are sleeping on the Browns and still hating on Deshaun, y'all better watch out because them boys they're ready. That defense Cleveland rolling out there, they for real. Okay. And so it's going. Hopefully, we can get that offensive line going back again. Hopefully, we get them big boys back up front because we're gonna need them. We're gonna need them boys against the Browns. Now, the Ravens injury situation could improve later this week. They say with the return of some of the players, but it got worse before it got better. Okay, Baltimore placed wide receiver, and some of you might not be familiar with him, Tylan Wallace, on injured reserve. Okay, they placed him on injured reserve. And you might say, well, who the heck is Ty? They got enough receivers. But keep in mind, Wallace didn't just play receiver for the Ravens. Now, he suffered a hamstring injury during Sunday's loss to the Colts, and they're anticipating he'll probably miss a minimum of 4 games. Now, what he's bringing to the table, that's a big deal for the Ravens special teams unit because he also plays special teams, which we already know. The Ravens special teams unit needed some improvement after a tough start of the season. So while Wallace has played just one offensive snap in the first 3 games, he is very, very instrumental and key on the special teams as a special teams contributor. So he's going to hurt that aspect of the game, which was already kind of, I don't know, you can say he wasn't playing up to par. But really, if when you look at the team overall, I still feel like they're not playing up to par, especially on offense. Now, this Todd Monken, uh, we know it's his first season, and we know he was missing his starting center and tackle. But that offense for the first 3 games really is not the offense that I thought was going to be rolling out there. But again, we're gonna give him some times. Take a look, take a look at the Dolphins. I hate the Dolphins anyway. But you see how they rolling? Man, they rolled up on Denver Broncos. They beat them like they was running a fast break. Put up 70 points, beat them by 50. And the whole time, the whole Colorado area is saying it was Russell Wilson was the problem. Russell don't play no D. Russell put up 33 points last week against the Washington Commanders and still lost. And then they turn around and let the Dolphins drop a bomb on them. The running game, man, look here. Denver got some problems. Anyway, this ain't about them. We're talking about the Ravens at this point. Now, what the Ravens did to try to fill that roster spot, the final roster spot for that 53-man roster, they went out and signed veteran quarterback Josh Johnson to fill that open spot. So they picked him up. They really never did want to let him go. Now, it was easy to spot on, as I mentioned, on that defense. It was easy to spot some of the stuff that was going on, some of the players that was going out there and doing their thing. In particular, it's easy to spot Kyle Hamilton, okay, because he was often making impact plays. He made himself a presence. In my opinion, he played on overall team effort. I think he played just as well, if not better, than what Lamar played. And Lamar, we know he's the catalyst, but Kyle Hamilton, he was putting it out. He looked pretty good. So I love to see him get back into the fold of things when the Ravens get all the key guys back in that defensive backfield. His immense skill set as a versatile safety was on full display during the Ravens obviously lost in overtime, 22-19 loss to the Colts. He was a dominating blitzer, devastating. I mean, he got to the quarterback. He had 3 sacks in the first half, the most first half sacks by any player in Ravens franchise history. Now think about that. The most first half sacks by any player in franchise history. And we know what kind of defensive players the Ravens have rolled out. You talk about Hall of Famers. You talk about Suggs. You talk about Ray Lewis. I mean, they have put out some guys that went after the quarterback. But this guy actually had the most first half sacks by any player in franchise history. That's saying a lot. Overall, he had 6 quarterback pressures and 3 sacks across 11 pass rushes, snaps, and 11. And he was tied for the most pressures by a defensive back in a game, by Ravens defensive back in a game since 2018. Now Hamilton. Now what was going on with him was he was moved back to nickel corner because Darius Washington, who has a chest injury, is on injured reserve. So Hamilton got his chance to get in there and show what he can do. And boy, look here. In my opinion, he's a permanent fixture. Harbaugh, y'all can shuck and jive all you want, but that man got to be on the field. He's a difference maker. He's a difference maker, and that's what that defense gonna need to take them to the next level. And I think they can. I think that defense is gonna be a lot better once everybody get healthy. So keep a lookout on that. Keep a lookout on that defense. And this guy Josh Hampton, he had a pass deflection on a blitz. He had a forced fumble. Now, he blanketed slot receivers. He tormented quarterback Gardner Minshew and defended the run with force. Remember, he coming from the safety position, so he coming up making hits. His quickness and instincts getting into the backfield was very, very on display. Now, Jadeveon Clowney, he called the man the Avatar. The Avatar. He is 6'4", playing safety position, and obviously he can run and hit at the same time. Remember, Kyle Hamilton. Y'all locking in on that cat there. He keep this up, boy. They'll be talking Pro Bowl about him. They'll be talking Pro Bowl about him. Now, in overall perspective of the game, now the Ravens obviously made mistakes in this game and they paid dearly for it. Turnovers, missed opportunities, troubles on special teams, with and let's not even talk about clock management. Wow, that was very, very glaring. Now, these are primary reasons for the 22-19 overtime loss to the Indianapolis Colts. This scenario here and these reasons, they were obviously primary reasons. And by the way, I am coming at you live today, so if you're out there listening, hit me up in the chat. See if we get back to you. We go back and forth on this, definitely. But I am coming out to you live right here, DJ B Long. You can see my stroll going across the bottom of the screen if you want to go to my channel and actually check out the videos. And there's some other videos as well as videos regarding the Ravens. I'm obviously, as I mentioned, I'm with the purple and black, white and purple, black and purple, whatever color they're wearing. I'm with them, the Ravens. Okay, and so with that being said, according to Lamar Jackson, they had plenty of opportunities to put the game away, and I agree. I agree, especially when our defense was doing such a great job stopping those guys. Like I said, the defense was balling. And they just didn't get no help in the right places what they needed. Now Lamar, he did what he could. He had 101 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns, besides the fumble that he had. So, but again, that's Lamar, and that's not what we put this team together for him to be Superman again. We didn't put this team together for him to be Superman and have to go out and rush for 100 yards. You know what I'm saying? That's not how this team was put together this year. And that offensive coordinator, we're gonna have to work through some things to get this team where they need to be. Okay, and of course they got to get players on the field, boy. The best ability, as they say, is availability, and we got too many injuries. And the Ravens have been prone to injuries, man. I don't know what the heck is going on. Is it the training regimen? I don't know. But they've been prone to injuries. This ain't something that has just happened this year. This has been ongoing with them over year after year after year. They got players that's getting hurt. So maybe they might have to take another look at their training and activities and how they actually prepare themselves for the games physically. Now, Lamar was apparently he was pissed off because they had great field position, and they didn't move the ball at all late in the game. They did move that rock. Now, that was key too. Baltimore squandered a golden opportunity to see a victory in regulation. Now, after the Colts quarterback, Gardner Minshew, backup quarterback, he stepped out of the back of the end zone for a safety that actually gave the Ravens ahead, actually put the Ravens ahead 19-16. Okay. Now, with the clock showing 1:56 left in the regulation, when that play ended, 1:56 to go, he stepped out of the back of the end zone, gave the Ravens a safety, gave them a 3-point lead. Now, they had to punt the ball, obviously, after a safety. Now, after the fair catch, they punted the ball out. And after the fair, I call it a fair catch miscommunication or a fair catch fuck up communication. The Ravens only burned 15 seconds off the clock on their final 3 plays of regulation. Can you get 15 seconds off the final clock on the final 3 plays? Game management and a lot. I guess going. They went 3 and out each time, and so again, I'm pointing my fingers at the coaching, the offensive coordinator. We know you came out of Georgia real hot, but you got 3 downs to run some time off the clock, and you only ran 15 seconds off the clock. Come on, man. Come on. You got 50. You got what, 25 seconds to actually snap the ball between plays. So I don't get it. I really don't. But on 4th down, when they had to punt that ball, Jordan Stouts, the punter, he punted. When he kicked it, it looked like he almost shanked it. Thought he got it blocked, but the ball only traveled 34 yards, which gave the Colts the ball at their own 38-yard line with 1:48 to play. Now that left plenty of time for Minshew to actually put the Colts in position for Gabe's 53-yard field goal late in the regulation that forced overtime. So some poor clock management, not burning more than 15 seconds when you got 3 plays to try to milk some of that clock. That's coaching. That's coaching. And you know what? Actually, HARBAUGH actually took responsibility and kind of tried to explain away a late game fair catch that proved costly during Sunday's overtime loss to the Colts. Now, at this point in time, the Ravens had a 19-16 lead after the Colts quarterback Gardner Minshew stepped out of the back of the end zone for a safety. Now, with the game clock showing 1:56 left in regulation, okay, 1:56 left in regulation when he stepped out of bounds and gave him that safety. Now, the Ravens, according to the Ravens, they originally instructed, it came from the sideline, they originally instructed Zay Flowers to fair catch the ensuing free kick, which is what he did. However, before the kick, check this out, before the kick, the scoreboard clock was switched to 2 and 3 seconds. It was switched to 2 and 3 seconds. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm sure every fan in this stadium, all 60,000, 70,000, however many it was, they saw that clock went from less than 2 minutes to 2 and 3 seconds. But check this out. Flowers stopped the clock from starting with his fair catch. That automatically. Now, had he caught the ball and ran with it, he probably would have burned another 20, 25 seconds off the clock. But based on the instructions he was given, fair catch this ball, we don't run no time off the clock. And that's exactly what he did. So don't blame it on Flowers. Again, bring that on the coach on the sideline. Now, with his fair catch, what he did, he gave the coach essentially a free timeout with a 2-minute warning. So really, that's 2 timeouts they just clocked. Okay. Now the Ravens went 3 and out and took just 15 seconds off the clock, also because of a 3rd down penalty that stopped the clock. So essentially, they had 3 timeouts to go. If you want to count the penalty, which stopped the clock. Now, that left the Colts with more than enough time to drive for the game-tying field goal, sending the game into overtime, where obviously the Colts prevailed. Had Flowers run 3 seconds off the clock to get to that 2-minute warning, the Ravens could have run the ball 3 times, and at worst, punted it back to the Colts with less than 30 seconds left and no timeouts. Again, strategy. I hope like heck. This is not how a Harbaugh and them plan on doing it when they get to the playoffs, because you're definitely not going to win any games in the playoffs coaching like that. You're going to have to outcoach your opponent, as well as your team's going to have to outplay them. But in this scenario, you had a lot of players down, and we understand that. But damn, the decision making, man, on that sideline was horrendous. It really was. You guys was acting, y'all was coaching like it was the first time you ever ran across a scenario like that. But anyway, um, as I mentioned, uh, the Ravens could have run the ball 3 times, and at worst punted the ball back to the coast with less than 30 seconds left and no timeouts. Now, when asked about this sequence during his Monday press conference, this is what Harbaugh said basically. Harbaugh put the blame on himself and a lack of communication. So he took the blame. He took the blame. He took the blame. He took the blame, but he was trying to lessen the blow. You know what I'm saying? He was trying to lessen the blow. He lost that game for his team. I would say it came down to that. Okay. He said we'll take responsibility for that. Now, in the confusion, I don't know what kind of confusion was going on. I mean, yeah, again, that's on the sideline. There's some confusion going on there with the monster coaching staff. He basically said it was chaotic. Damn, it was chaotic. It wasn't that bad. So you guys were nobody. Apparently, it didn't appear that nobody was on the same page, which made it chaotic. Now, he basically stated that we made the determination that we were going to fair catch everything. That was the initial decision they made. Now, what they were doing with that's actually looking at an onside kick, pop up kick, those kind of things from the coach to try to get the ball back. So that's what they were expecting. Okay. Now, we did not do the job we needed to do to communicate to our guys after the change was made. Duh. That was apparent. Once they were on the field, the clock changed, and we might have thought we did, but that's the way it goes in communication. Bullshit. Bullshit. I say bullshit to that, Harbaugh. Y'all guys getting paid too much money. You got too many people on that staff. You got all kind of coaches up in the booth. Those type of stuff. That lack of communication in that scenario, I ain't buying it. I am not buying it. So basically, they said we have to do a better job. You're damn right. You got to do a better job. You're not going to beat nobody in the playoffs making those kind of decisions, and you're going to have some decisions to make if you get to the playoffs. But I'm not giving them up on my boys. I'm riding with them to the end. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Raven lover. That's why they call me the Raven Rooter. Yeah, that's me. And I think the communication is the basis for everything. And we're not just talking about football. We're talking about life. Communications is the basis for everything. When things usually don't go wrong, the communication process is usually broken across the board, not just sports, but across the life, relationships, you name it. It's communications. Got to be able to communicate. Okay. Now, finding a way to communicate clearly, and basically what he's saying, and we just didn't get that done. Again, we all saw it. We all saw it, Harbaugh, and again, I just hope you guys don't have those same type of mistakes throughout the year because of communications, okay, or lack thereof. That should, obviously we know that should not have been a fair catch. We knew it, and we didn't get the word to Zay Flowers like we needed to. This is Harbaugh words now. He's trying to clean it up. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to clean it up. But again, it was all obvious from the time we saw the game, and there was a lot of things that didn't go right in that game for the Ravens. But in my opinion, this was the biggest mistake in that game, and I think this is what caused them to lose that game. They could have milked that clock and done and been done with it. Now I know there was some things done, especially that last play where everybody in the world saw that Zay Flowers was interfered with on that last 4th and 3, but shoot, it didn't get called. It didn't get called. But again, it shouldn't have never got to that point, but it did. Now, Harbaugh also mentioned another helpful option would have been to call a timeout before the Colts free kick. Damn, ain't that's what coaches usually do to make sure there's no confusion, make sure everybody such a special play coming up, such a play that's important coming up. You want to make sure everybody is on the same page, huh? You want to make sure use that timeout, man. Again, like they say, hindsight is 20/20. Second thought is always better than the first. So because you got a chance to assess the situation. Now, particular position would have given Baltimore more time to finalize its strategy and make sure everyone on the field with the same page. You got to make that happen like that, man. You got to make that happen like that. And so, really, again, you guys are joining me. If you want to join in and want to chat, throw me a chat, get online and add your input. Feel free to do so. Hit me up on the chat. I am the one and only DJ B Long right here in studio. Long Studio. And again, my channel you see strolling across the bottom of the screen. Go ahead and hit me up if you got some comments you want to throw out there, or if you got some input you want to throw out there. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen. Okay. Now, looking back at it, right afterward, I think we all said to ourselves, this is Harbaugh talking now. He said he think we all said to ourselves, you should know what I mean. Damn, if y'all talking to yourselves, you should be talking to each other. If y'all thinking all that, y'all should have been expressing that with each other. Okay. We should have called a timeout, he said. Looking back at it in hindsight, we should have called a timeout. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, but you didn't. You know? We would have made it clearer at that point. And I know we'll learn from that. Well, I hope so, because man, we can't afford to see nothing like that in important games. Especially, I'm looking down the road to playoffs. You listen. You got to be on point. Your coaching staff got it. And I don't want to get ahead of myself in this regards to the playoffs, because the Ravens got a tough division, whether you know it or not. I mean, they had a good chance to go up 3-0, and Cleveland is right on their heels, and they got Cleveland next week. Man, that's gonna be a barn burner. I mean, that's to me. That's going to be a defensive struggle. And the Cleveland defense is for real. They defense. Myles Garrett, that boy playing MVP type of football right now at that DN. So the Ravens got their work cut out for them. They're going to have to come up with something to offset that Cleveland defense. And in the meantime, you got Deshaun Watson. People, like I said, the people are sleeping on him. People are sleeping on him. Deshaun's my boy. And despite all the crap he went through, a couple of years ago, I still don't think he's at his peak right now to where he was before. I think he's a little bit heavy. Maybe what you might want to call it baby fat. But also, I think his sharpness is coming back to him slowly. By midseason, he gonna look like the Deshaun Watson that we remember. Right now, a lot of people are auditioning him, but watch what I say. Deshaun Watson will be looking like the guy that we all know and knew. Okay. Now, according to Harbaugh, by the time they realized that they didn't get things communicated like they needed to the guys out there. Again, he's taking a bullet on that one. He have to. He can't pass that off on nobody because he's the head coach. That's on us. He said that's on us 100%. We take full responsibility for it. I'll take full responsibility for it. Okay, and that's the way it is. Nobody's going to let you off the hook, Harbaugh. We're applying full responsibility on you. You the head coach. Now, for the second straight week, the Ravens had costly special team struggles. Now, in the third quarter, they give up a 32-yard punt return that set up a 54-yard field goal by Matt Gay. Now, this guy Gay, for the kicker for the Ravens, for the Colts, he wasn't no joke. He was nailing them. In week 2, they gave up an 81. Remember that special teams, they gave up an 81-yard punt return for a touchdown in Cincinnati. That's why I mentioned to you earlier. The special team hasn't been playing up to par throughout the season. Now in overtime, Baltimore's problems were mainly on offense. On offense, Todd Monken, where you at, boy? Where you at? Damn, we needed you to come up with something, man. To just go ahead and ice the game. Three down, three and out, 15 seconds. Man, come on. That ain't expected. We wasn't no that not from that group. I don't give a damn if you just say, okay, Lamar, you run an RPO, run pass option 3 times in a row. You gonna run some clock. He's gonna get you some yards, but you don't want to keep putting him in harm's way because you went out and built this offense to where you can take some of that pressure off of Lamar. But in clutch time, what did Chicago Bulls do when it came down to clutch time? They gave that ball to Michael Jordan. What did the Golden State Warriors do in clutch time? They get that damn ball to Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? What did New England Patriots do? They put that rock in Tom Brady's hand. When it come down to clutch time and you need a play, you got the clutch player that can do it. You don't want to overutilize him. You definitely don't want to overutilize him because he needs to last to the all the way through the playoffs. So we need to get Lamar through this season, without any injuries. And the way this O line is going down, and some of these key players around him going down, it scares me, man. Shoot. I'm telling you, it scares me. I don't know how Lamar gonna stay upright for a full season without any type of injury. But let's hope we do, and let's hope he's smart enough to try to get down. And he is smart enough to try to get down. But there's some times where the competitor in him may come out where instead of trying to pick up that first down, he may be trying to score, and that's what scares me a little bit. But anyway, let's see how it happens, and so let's see how this unfolds. Now, the Ravens never registered a first down on 2 possessions in overtime. 2 possessions in overtime, they never got a first down. Again, they couldn't run that clock out like we was hoping they would. And Jackson had several throws he liked to have back, obviously, but he missed a wide open Flowers with a pass thrown well behind him on 3rd down. Now, then on Baltimore's final possession in overtime, Jackson and Flowers failed to connect on 4th down. This is where the whole world saw there was a pass interference on the defense, but it wasn't called. Although it appeared Coach linebacker EJ should have been called for pass interference, it was not called. Okay, simply put, that no call actually gave the ball back to the coach. That no call gave the ball. Had that call been made, it's a wrap. The game's over. That automatic first down. They had the timeouts. You just kneel up, get the ball and kneel. Okay, get the ball and kneel. But they gave the ball back to the coach, and who actually sealed the victory on their next drive when Gay, as I mentioned, that kicker for the Colts, it wasn't no joke. He wasn't no joke. He was nailing them. He was nailing those kicks, and I believe here basically what he did here. Let me tell you, he hit he kicked his 4th field goal, and all of them were over 50 yards, and he kicked a 53-yarder with 1 minute and 9 seconds left in overtime. Okay, a 53-yarder with 1 minute and 9 seconds left in overtime. Now, that winning field goal ended what we consider an agonizing day for the Ravens, who actually outplayed the Colts for long stretches of the game, but kept making early mistakes. It was kind of agonizing for me. Sometimes you can watch games, you take a look at them, and you get that feeling like, man, shit, they're gonna lose this game, even though they're still winning. You just get that feeling of like, oh, they're gonna lose this damn game and shit, and that's the kind of feeling that I got during that game, and it came to fruition. And I hope I didn't jinx my boys, but that's the kind of feeling I got. I don't know about you. Did you get that feeling? At any point in time, did you get that feeling like, man, they're gonna lose this game? Well, I guess apparently that's what happened. Apparently that's what happened. Now, again, I'd be remiss to not mention the performance by Matt Gay, the Colts field goal kicker. I'd be remiss to not mention anything about him. Let's see here. I got Matt Gay. Yeah. This guy went out there. He went 5 for 5 on field goals. 5 for 5. 5 for 5. Including a 53-yard game winner in overtime. The homeboy was clutch. He was clutch. He was looking like Justin Tucker out there for a minute there. He was looking like JT. As I mentioned, he kicked a 53-yard game winner in overtime. Now, 4 of those field goals came from 50+ yards. 4 of them. Homeboy was nailing it. He was nailing it. He looked really good on those kicks. And that's actually the most in a single game. The most 50-yard field goals in a single game in NFL history. Let me have a little sip of my vitamin water here, make sure my throat don't go dry. There's some of the Alexis Arguello stuff here. Y'all probably don't know nothing about him, but you might be too young to if you tuned in. But Alexis Arguello wanted that. He didn't want that ball. He wanted the special ball. So right now, I'm just gonna sip on a little bit of my throat cleanser and keep going forward. Now, this is the part I'm gonna tell you. I don't hear anybody talking about this. I really don't hear nobody talking about it. All the sports pundits, the commentators, they ain't talking about this. Harbaugh, they ain't mentioned nothing about this. The reporters asking questions didn't mention anything about this. I wanted to throw it across your mind. Now, speaking of field goal kickers, can someone please tell me why Harbaugh didn't let the best kicker in the history of the NFL go for that 62-yarder to win the game in the first overtime? Y'all remember that? You remember that? He opted not to let JT, the best field goal kicker in the history of football, not get a shot at it. That pissed me off. You know what I'm saying? That pissed me off. Even though I know there's some of you out there saying, well, he had just, the kick before that, the field goal attempt before that, a 61-yarder, it came up short. But if you look at that ball, it was about a foot short. And if you look at the height of the ball when he kicked it, and I think he would have made the adjustment during that second kick. If you look at the height of that ball as it was approaching the goal, had he kicked a little bit lower ball, that would have been good. That would have been good. That kick would have went. That would have made it. That ball actually was about a foot short from that 61-yard mark. Is that why? Was it because he missed the one prior to that from 61? As I mentioned, the one that was a foot short. Did Harbaugh forget that Justin Tucker, holds the NFL record? A lot of people may not know this. But he holds the NFL record for the longest field goal in history. The longest. And how long was that? 66 yards. This man lined up on the other side of the 50-yard line and hit one from 66 yards to win a game. This was, I think, a year ago or 2 years ago when he hit that kick. But the bottom line is that 62-yard was in his range. That 61-yarder that he missed prior to that fell just short, and I think it was just a judgment thing. And he put too much air under the ball. Had he lowered, let's just say had he not kicked it so high, and maybe a little, now I ain't gonna say no line drive because it may have gotten blocked, but a little bit higher than the line, that ball would have had plenty of distance on it, plenty of it. But at the same time, how are you gonna forget that this man holds the NFL record for the longest field goal? And you didn't want to try him out there on a 62-yarder that would have won the game for you. I don't get it. To me, he wasn't coaching to win. He was not coaching to win. He was coaching to not lose. Again, he was not coaching to win. He was coaching to not lose. Man, you give your money. You get your best. The best kicker in the world, not just your best player, one of your best players, the best kicker in the world, the best kicker in NFL history. You give that man a shot. And I don't know what it's going to do to Justin Tucker's confidence, but I know he was upset that he didn't get a chance to go back out there and kick that 52-yard field goal, which I'm more than confident that he would have made it. Again, Harbaugh, one of those brain farts from the sideline. They weren't coaching to win; they was coaching to not lose. As, I don't know, some of you remember, you might remember, as Coach Herm Edwards used to say, "You play to win the game." I don't know if y'all remember. I don't know if you have Coach Herm saying that, but that's what didn't happen. They weren't playing to win the game in that scenario. And we all know that most games lost. The more games are lost than won in the NFL. The Ravens lost this game. They actually lost it. No doubt about it. They lost this game. Now, they had 4 offensive drives in the first half that ended with fumbles. The mistakes, the fumbles. They bungled the end of regulation with a chance to milk the clock. Come on, man. They were supposed to run out the clock. Indianapolis shouldn't have never got a shot at that game-winning field goal. They should have never got one. And of course, the offense, as Lamar said, they had opportunities. The offense had 2 golden opportunities to win that game in overtime, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Again, this is going to have to be a learning experience for us. It really is. It's going to have to be. And hopefully that coaching staff, they can get their act together, man. You can't have no miscommunications in clutch time. You really can't. And Todd Monken, man, I thought, honestly, I thought that Ravens offense was going to look like the Dolphins looking right now. Man, the Dolphins look unbeatable. You know what I'm saying? They look unbeatable. I can't believe what they're doing, but Tua and Tyreek, that's mostly doing the damage. But shoot, this is what I was expecting from the Ravens. This is, you know what I'm saying? This is what I was expecting Lamar and that Todd Monken new offense come out and do. I was expecting them to put up 40, 45 points a game. So far, it may still be early. It may still be early. So, we may have to wait a little bit longer. And of course, as I mentioned to you, they wouldn't give JT his opportunity, and that's how he felt. That's how he felt. They wouldn't give him his opportunity to win that game for him. And so next time around, I tell you, Harbaugh, you put the money in, you put your game in the hands of the moneymaker. You put your game in the hands of your clutch players. This man, this man don't even have to show up to prove that he's clutch. This man has been clutch for shit forever. Forever. He's in NFL history. He's the best kicker ever in NFL history. And you didn't give him a chance to win the game. Probably because he missed one prior. You think he's gonna make all of them? No. But I guarantee you, in my opinion, if he'd got a shot at that kick from 62, he would have nailed it. That's my opinion. So things are tightening up in that AFC North, man. Things are tightening up in that AFC North. And it's not going to get any easier. Like I mentioned, next week, guess who's got to come out? Who they got to come out there after? You know what I'm saying? Next week, it's going to be a different ball game. And my boy Deshaun, he's going to be a problem. The Cleveland defense is going to be a problem. But right now in the standings, you got 3 teams tied for first place. You got Pittsburgh actually sitting on top of the division. Believe that or not. I don't know how they got them sitting on the top, but again, they all got the same amount of losses and wins. You got Pittsburgh at 2-1. You got Baltimore at 2-1, and of course, you got Cleveland at 2-1. And Cincinnati right now at this point in time, Cincinnati is on the brink of getting. If they don't win tonight, they could be out of it. They could be out of it. But the good thing about it is all these teams got to play each other, so they're going to beat up on each other. They're going to beat up on each other. And so we'll see how that North standings, the AFC North, end up. In my opinion, it's going to be these 2 guys right here. You see them boys right there? It's going to be them two guys right there playing for the division title. And at some point in the playoffs, they're going to meet each other. It's going to be those two guys right there. Y'all mark it. Mark it on your calendar. Mark it on your book. Mark it somewhere. Just let them know that Belong, man, was what came out and predicted. This is my prediction. You know what I mean? This is this is my prediction. Heck with all those other sports pundits out there. This is what Bingo is going to give you. And listen, all my Raven fans, we getting ready to go to Cleveland, and this is going to be a stern test for us. Really, it is, man. It's going to be difficult. So I'm just hoping that we can pull it out. I am just hoping we can pull it out. Okay. With that being said, I am the Raven Rooter. Backing it up out of here. Make sure you check me out on my YouTube channel, djblongstudio.com. Catch my new Raven World podcast for full-length videos and more. Until the next time, we'll be chatting. Hit me up on the chat. If you got anything you want to talk about later on, hit me up in the comments. I'm here for you. Go to that channel. Check out some of my other videos. Check out some of my other specials I did on the Ravens. In the meantime, I am out of here.